due this Sunday? Is it due this Sunday or next Sunday? Since it's a part of week 3.
Let me look. Does it say that on the? Hold on. Let me look at the. Is it on the schedule or on the online piece that it's wrong?
On Canvas.
On Canvas. Let's see what it says here. So, chapter 2 should be February 4th. Let me look. I will go in and adjust that date to give you guys the farthest out, which is February 4th for quiz 2, so it matches the syllabus, okay? So I will fix that right now while we're on the phone. Thanks for bringing that up to my attention. All right, that's been fixed. Thank you. What else? Anything else, guys? No. All right, we are going to get started with this. Tonight we are talking. Let me get my notes together here for us. A teacher's role and a role model. So let's talk about that. Let me get my presentation up here. And oops. All right, so we're going to talk about a teacher's role in guiding behavior tonight. So remember, let me remind you, this will be a pretty boring class if you guys don't interact with me, okay? So I want to hear from you, okay? So here we go. Let me share my screen. There we go. All right, here we go, guys. So, guidance versus discipline. Let's talk about that for a minute. What's the difference? What do you think? Is there a difference between guidance and discipline? What do you guys think? What is discipline? Let's start with that one. What is discipline? What do you think discipline is? Let me hear from you. Shout it out, guys. Yeah, Peyton.
I guess discipline is trying to teach a kid lesson where they understand.
All right, teaching a kid a lesson so they understand. What else? Does discipline have a positive or negative connotation? Do you think of it?
I feel like discipline's more negative versus guidance would be getting them to be like, you want to guide the way.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have a belief on that?
I feel like discipline is more showing what's right versus what's wrong, teaching a child what is okay to do and what's not okay to do, while guidance is showing them how to learn and how to act and whatnot.
Okay. All right, let me show you guys a picture here. All right, so the arrows are pointing to those concrete barriers on either side. Anybody have an idea what those are called? Does anybody know what those are called? They do have a name. They're called Jersey barriers because it used to be that Jersey was their highways are under a lot of construction. So you will see these on the interstates when you are going through construction sites. Now, you may not have noticed it. You may have, I don't know. But when they put these up, the lines on the highway, here are the lines on the highway, they may put the barriers, do you think they're going to put them right outside the line to make it wider? Or are they going to put them on the inside of the line to make them more narrow? What do you think?
The outside?
So you have more room?
Yes.
Okay, anybody else disagree? Have you ever driven on 81 recently where they're doing that construction near the, let me see, depends on which way you're coming. If you're coming from Roanoke, it's the first Salem exit, and if you're going towards Roanoke, it's like the last Salem exit there, where they've been trying to add other lanes all through that area there on 81. Typically with these barriers, when you're going through a construction site, they bring them in some. Why would they do that? Why would they bring them in, Madison? What do you think?
That you have more room on like what they're working on.
Could be. What else does it do? Gives more room to the workers. What else does it do? What does it do for you in the car or truck or whatever you're driving?
It makes you stay where you're supposed to be staying. So
Makes you
don't
stay
go
where you
anywhere.
are. Okay. What else?
It's guiding you the way that they want you to go.
Guiding you the way they want you to go. Absolutely. Has anybody driven down Elm Avenue southeast? They went and created these little parts that jut out. And so when you're driving Elm Avenue going through southeast heading to Vinton, it used to be just straight shot. Now you kind of go this way, and then you go this way, and then you go this way. Do you know why they did that? Why they put those there? To slow people down. Because people would just take a straight shot from 581 out to Denton really fast. So these Jersey barriers, when they push them in, they are guiding you. They're telling you where to go. They're giving more space to the workers. But they're also, when things get narrower for your car or your vehicle, do you still go as fast, or do you have a tendency to slow down when it's a little more narrow?
You slow down.
You slow down, absolutely. And that's why they do that. They pull those in because when we put the signs up, be honest, guys. If there is a speed zone and it says speed limit 25, what do most people go? Just normal streets. Do people go 25 or do they go 30 or 35 or 40?
30.
They go faster, don't they? And there's a sign there that tells you speed limit 25, but we don't follow it. So when we're in construction zones, many people have been killed because people are speeding through there. So they're going to try every way they can. So even though there's a sign, even though they say, guess what, your fines are doubled, it still doesn't stop people. But when you pull in those Jersey barriers and you narrow the actual area where they drive, people slow down. They slow down. So those barriers, it's a way for them to guide us as drivers, to slow us down and to guide us through those construction zones without having us have a police officer sit there and go, I'm going to write you up, I'm going to write you up. It's a guide for us. So think about that within the classroom. That's what we're going to talk about today. So here you've got a pyramid. So this class is guiding young children, okay, guiding the behavior of young children. This is how most classrooms are set up, an 80, a 15, and a 5. 80% of children are going to do what the classroom teacher says to do. How the classroom is set up, 80% of the kids are going to follow suit. They're going to do it. They're just going to fall in line and they're just going to do it. 15% of the class population may need a little bit more guidance or assistance. You may have to do a sticker chart with them. You may have to give them a little more attention. So 15% is going to have a little bit more instruction maybe. 5% of the whole class or the whole body there will need actual interventions such as special education services. That's a tiny percent. So the majority of the children with just either they're going to fall in line or you may have to give them a little bit more. Only 5% will need some intensive services because of their behaviors, okay? So keep that in mind. So The first step when you are guiding children effectively is to develop good relationships with them. You might also call this pairing. You might hear it called as pairing with a child. So you want to demonstrate respect and show interest in them. How do you do that? Well, you get down on their level. You don't stand over them, behind them, and over them. That kind of makes you go, what is going on here? So you want to get down on their level, okay? Don't talk down to them, but talk with them. Acknowledge and learn about the children. So on those back to school nights, or when you have a new student that comes in, get to know them, and then get to know their parents and show interest in them. Want to have special time with those kids? Oh, they will love that when you just listen to what they say. Find out what is important to children. You can do this by talking to the parents, listening to the kids, taking notes. I would suggest that you put like Post-it notepads around the room. So that way, if you have to jot something down, you've got a Post-it note, and then take that Post-it note and stick it on the higher part of the ceiling. Okay, like above your head. Because that's not for the students to look at. That's where all the teacher reminders go, on the top third of the classroom. That's for teachers. Things you want the kids to see need to be on that lower 2/3 at their level. Take a Post-it, stick it up there if you need to, so you don't have to run across the room. Pay attention. That means you've got to put that cell phone away. Okay? If you are the lead teacher in a classroom, you've got to tell your assistants, we're not going to have our cell phones out, because guess what? Most children see their parents on their phones at night, and they're attached to the tablets. You do not know how to interact with people and behave if you don't actually interact with people. You won't learn. To learn to swim, you got to get in the water. To learn to interact and be social and to be with people and to behave with other people, you have to interact with them. So we're going to put those phones away. If you have a classroom phone, tell your front desk, tell the secretary, talk to your director to say, hey, please don't put any calls through to my phone unless it's an absolute emergency, that there has been death, dismemberment. Please don't send them down there. I want my time with my kids, okay? So show appreciation for what they do. Have a wall of honor. You can have a wall of honor or artwork where you're going to put all the artwork away that everybody draws for you, and you can have an art show every week where the kids can display the art that they've created that week. Show genuine enjoyment in your interactions with children. If you're going into education, you're going into it for the children and the students. So that is your top priority. If you are going to be a preschool, toddler, or infant teacher, then your primary job is to interact and play with them. It's the best job around. You get to play all day, folks. What job lets you play all day and not worry about state testing and SOLs and other tests? You get to play and interact, and that's how children learn. So you've got to show genuine enjoyment. You're going to get back in touch with your inner child. That's what you're doing. So remember that when you're interacting with these kids. So there are major dimensions of caregiving styles. So the two dimensions of caregiving are responsiveness and demandingness. Responsiveness and demandingness. So let's dive into that a little bit. Responsiveness refers to an adult and the warmth that they may show to the child, their child development knowledge, their belief that he or she is a partner with the child in any interaction, their communication style, and their willingness to give explanations, not just because I said so. So that's how we talk about responsiveness. That's what we're referring to, okay? Demandingness refers to an adult's knowledge and skills. So in setting boundaries, limits, and expectations, in monitoring and supervising children, with guidance strategies that you may know and have in your toolbox, and in confronting children when necessary. That's demandingness. So demandingness is knowledge and skills. Responsiveness is kind of more like with the interactions. Okay? So then we take these and it comes up with 3 different styles of caregiving. So you've got authoritative, authoritarian, and permissive. So those are your 3 different styles: authoritative, authoritarian, and permissive. Those first 2 are so confusing because the names are so very close. Okay? Let's dive into that. So authoritative, it's a positive style. It's a good thing to have that authoritative style. You're going to have high demandingness. So you're going to have a lot of knowledge, a lot of skills. But you're also going to be very warm to the children. So I'm going to have structure and I'm going to set boundaries. But I am going to love on you and I'm going to be into you. Can you see how that would be very positive for children? Children thrive on structure. So authoritative is positive. Okay? Permissive, the 2 forms of permissive include indulgent and uninvolved. So permissive, they're going to be overindulgent. Yeah, but whatever they want, let them do whatever they want. It doesn't matter. Okay? Or they're uninvolved at all. Go talk to your mom. Go talk to your dad. I'm busy. Go away. So that's going to be permissive. So, how are these forms of permissiveness the same and how are they different? So let's look at this. Indulgent. There's low demandingness. So there's low knowledge, low skills. Highly responsive to children. Oh, because they're all about the kids. Yeah, you want that? Sure, let's do it. Let's go. Let's get that. You're going to have it. So they're responding to the kids. Then they made active choice to be permissive. So they're purposely doing that. Okay, these are the ones that probably don't say no a lot to their kids. The kids hear yes, 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 and they don't usually hear no. Uninvolved. They have low skill level, but then they also they're not very responsive to the children at all. They don't want to be permissive, but they are. Those that fall into this style. So then now let's look at an adult style of caregiving that affects the development here. Authoritative caregiving helps children to feel safe, secure, and competent. These are the people that have high skill level, remember, high knowledge, and they are very responsive to the children. So if you have a structured setting, if you have a schedule that you're going to follow, and you respond to the children and you're interacting with them, they're going to feel safe and secure. And then they're going to start to feel more confident and competent and taking risk, okay? Authoritative caregiving helps children to develop empathy, self-esteem, core personal values, self-control, and self-responsibility. Okay, so this is the same here. Helps to feel safe, secure, and competent. And then now children are going to develop empathy because those teachers or those parents that have this authoritative, they are responding to children. So when the children are upset, they're going to be in tune to them. They're going to respond to them crying and not say, come on, suck it up, you'll be fine. Get up and walk away. So they're going to be very responsive to that, okay? They're going to build some self-esteem. They're going to be willing to take risks. They're going to feel comfortable doing that. And they're going to be okay with being successful sometimes and failing sometimes. They're going to be feeling more positive about that. They're going to have a core of personal values, and then that self-control. They're going to learn that, okay, because it's structured, there's routine, there are expectations. I'm not allowed to just take anybody's toy that I want. I know that I have to wait. I can't just run out to the playground. I have to wait and get in the line. And then self-responsibility. These folks give children responsibility. So they learn to take responsibility. They make them clean up after themselves. Okay? Authoritarian. So, this has a negative effect on children's development. Authoritarian. They have poor self-esteem, poor self-control. It fosters aggression, and it does not stop unacceptable behaviors. The authoritarian. Negative on the child's development. Permissive caregiving also has a negative effect on children. They have poor impulse control. They just react. These are the ones, remember, that are indulgent, or they can also just totally ignore them. They're not self-reliant. They won't just try things on their own because somebody's always been there to indulge in their every whim. They're going to depend on somebody else to do that. And they're not self-responsible. Can you think of some parents or friends of yours that may fit into one of these categories? Oh, I can. I have one friend, and she was overindulgent. I think her children never heard no. And my children probably hardly ever heard yes. I was maybe the opposite end of that spectrum. But can you think of families that you work with that may fall into one of these categories? Okay? So, how do adults influence children? Well, through modeling. Let me tell you, you are always on show when there are children around. I cannot emphasize this enough. Anything you do or say is going to be heard or seen by the children around you. Okay? Everything you do or say will be watched and repeated, or either verbally or actively, by the children that you serve. Okay? So when you talk over children, they're going to talk over you. If you raise your voice, they're going to raise their voice at some point. If you are sarcastic with the other adults in the classroom, they're going to try to be sarcastic, but they don't have that skill, and instead they're going to end up being demeaning, and it's going to come across that they're picking. Sarcasm does not belong in front of children at all. They do not get it. So do not try and be sarcastic around adults or children. If you are always picking on or laughing at others, that's not showing them how to treat others, okay? Some of you may have children for 12 hours a day. If you work in a child care center and parents are working, you're going to see those children the majority of the time they're awake. So a lot depends on you to make a difference in their lives. So you are always modeling. One of my favorite stories on my son is when he was in preschool. One of the teaching assistants was of short stature, and this was back when they had TVs mounted up on the walls, those big TVs. And she was of short stature, and she got a chair and put it on top of the table, climbed on the table, climbed on the chair to get to the TV. Well, my son saw that and thought that that was what we do. So then the next day, he went and took the chair, put it on the table, climbed on top, because that's what he saw the adults. Even though she was trying to get to the TV, and it was, I can explain it and I understand it, but he modeled exactly what he saw. Exactly what he saw, that's what he's doing. Language is another one. You can have a child that starts cursing, and this is the one thing parents will deny. I don't know where they hear that. We don't do that at home. And every teacher's like, because we are not allowed to curse here. That is one thing teachers do not do in front of kids. I can always guarantee it. So you're always on show for children. Remember that. Giving instruction and teaching. Everything you do is giving instruction and teaching. You want to show examples and non-examples when you're teaching a child. This is what it is. This is what it's not. Because if you don't do that, children are going to make that assumption, well, if that's what it is, then this must be it too, okay? So there's assimilations. So then giving feedback. So you influence children by giving feedback. What kind of feedback should we be giving to children? It should be specific. It should be encouraging. How many of you guys work in a classroom? A couple of you. Okay, have you guys been class observed? Have you heard of class observations?
Yeah.
Okay, what age group do you work with?
I work with 1-year-olds.
1-year-olds. Okay, so you're going to see it mostly later when you get to the 4 and 3-year-old classrooms. So part of class, and we will dive down this rabbit hole in another week, but it is an observation tool that is used across the state. And to determine if it is a quality preschool program and the interactions within the classroom. One thing they look at is feedback. The feedback that the staff is providing to the children, is it encouraging the child to keep going, to persevere, to keep working on a problem? Is it encouraging them to keep going, or is it just kind of, perfunctory, like, good job, way to go? Oh, what'd I do? It needs to be very specific on what you like and what they're doing, and you want them to encourage them to keep going and working on that project or that interaction with that other child, okay? All right, let's go back. All right, so managing the child's environment. So that is your job. You set up the environment. You get to set up your classroom as the teacher, okay? So you want to make sure that you have the environment set up where you have some quiet areas, some louder areas. You've got a place that children can go and sit and write or draw. You don't want quiet areas right next to block areas. Those don't go beside each other. You don't want to have large open spaces, because what are children going to do when there are large open spaces?
Run around.
Running Man, right there. They're going to be running and running and running back and forth, and it's great fun. They're going to tag and tackle each other. It's just great fun. So you want to make sure you don't have that. You want to have clear boundaries, okay? And boundaries need to have visuals, okay? So those can be done with shelving units, with tables, with tape, colored tape on the floor. I know some centers and some schools get all jacked up about tape on the floor, and I really don't understand why, because it scrapes up just lovely. But check with your directors and your principals about that. But have those visuals for those kids. Stating expectations for appropriate behavior. I was in a classroom today, and we are nearing the 100th day of school, and this teacher was still going over circle rules, reviewing those with the children. I wanted to applaud and stand and give this lady a standing ovation. Absolutely. You keep going over those rules over and over and over again all the time. And so you want to set those expectations, and you want to show the appropriate behavior, and you want to make sure you share that all the time with the children. Helping children understand why. Why are we doing what we're doing? Well, this is why we're doing what we're doing. Explaining that, because that's going to help that curiosity. And part of class, they want to hear you asking them why. You want to start getting them to think about that, why they're doing what they're doing. Why did you do that? And being able to verbalize that. And helping children change their understanding and their attitude. All right, so let me stop for a second here. Get out of this one. All right, so looking back at those types of authority, I'm gonna, if you've got your book, get your book out, okay? I want you to see chart. You look on page 13, it's around page 13. Give me a thumbs up if you have your book so that I can see that. And that's, okay, great, everybody's got their book. Okay, so I won't try and draw this then. So you figure 1.3, look for figure 1.3 if it's on 13 or 14. It's going to be around there depending on the edition that you have. So it's talking here about that authoritative caregivers combine high responsiveness with high demandingness. I think this puts that in a really clear visual for you so that you can see how it's more positive. So that authoritative, again, and you might want to just take note, remember that the demandingness is all about the skills and knowledge, and then the responsiveness are those interactions, okay? So at the total opposite of that, the other corner, you've got that low demandingness, so they don't have many skills or knowledge, and low responsiveness. That's where you get the unengaged. They're permissive by default because they don't know and they're not responding. When you actually have knowledge and you have that responsibility, you automatically go up in that top corner. Looking at this, you as the teacher, which of these do you think you have the most direct impact with parents? What can you help them improve easily? Their knowledge or their responsiveness? Which is the easy one for teachers to improve with parents? Their knowledge and skills or their responsiveness? Peyton, what do you think?
I think their knowledge.
How? Exactly, that's what I'm thinking too. Madison, is that what you were thinking?
It
I want to
depends.
hear your opinion. I can't wait to hear that. Okay.
It depends on what they know already. Like,
Uh-huh.
you don't want to repeat to them if they already know stuff. So you kind of want to get to know them better and see what they know.
Okay. Madison, let me hear your opinion. If you had a parent that had that low responsiveness and low demandingness, so they had the low skill and knowledge and they're not responsive, you thought you could improve easier their responsiveness?
Yes, but I feel like
Tell me what you're thinking.
conversation with the parent, telling them to be more responsive with the child, I feel like that would actually be tricky now that I think about it. To like
Okay. Well, I will tell you this. The easy one is probably the knowledge because you're going to do newsletters, okay? Remember, we're going to do newsletters. So when you do newsletters, lots of teachers do those every week, every month, notes home. That's, especially in the newsletters or website or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or some types of apps, Ready Rosie, you can provide them with the knowledge. So you can give them the information. Now, we can't control them reading it, but if you inundate them enough, then the way to get the responsiveness, we've got to teach that skill to them now on how to be responsive. And so a lot of times that's through family engagement activities. So if your center or your school, like if they have a STEM night or a parent night, let's come in and learn about language. Let's, make cookies, and I'm going to show you all the different ways of vocabulary you can bring into this. That is how you can work on that responsiveness. But we ultimately want to build both of these up. So it's something you're going to want to work in tangent and conjunction all the way through, but inundate them with the knowledge and why we're doing this. So you want to make sure that that's happening, okay? All right, so I'm going to bring up another piece to you guys here. Okay, so I want you to go to the beginning of chapter 1. The beginning of chapter 1. Which, oops, went too far. And I want you to go to look at the vignettes on page 4, and they continue on page 5. You've got Blake ignores his mother's request. David does whatever he wants. Patrick's problems have deep roots, and Leah bites Robert. I'm going to give you guys several minutes, and I want you to read those vignettes, and then we're going to talk about them, okay? So I'm going to give you some time to read those again and refresh your memory if you've already read them. thumbs up when you are ready to discuss these. Just want to do a quick check. Okay, great. All right, so let's talk about these. All right, so looking at Blake and David, okay? So both of these parents are permissive. What makes them permissive? What makes those parents permissive? And if you need to look at that definition, you are going to go over to page 20, around page 20. Yeah, Jillian, let me hear from you. What makes them permissive?
The reason that they're permissive is that they don't show any sort of discipline or authoritarian sort of things. They just let them do whatever they want, or they don't follow through when they make threats to like take something away from them.
Absolutely. Just, going up there, run to the front, see what you can see. Which of the parents is uninvolved, do you think? Blake's or David's? Which one's the uninvolved parent? Amber, what do you think?
Is it David?
Why do you think that?
Because she let her kids stay up all night and didn't discipline them for that, or like try to set a certain time.
Does anybody think it's Blake's? I'm just curious. Does everybody think that it's David? David's mom is the one that is uninvolved. All right, great. All right, so let's look at Patrick. Patrick's dad. What style does he have? Authoritative or authoritarian? What do you think? Authoritative or authoritarian? Amber, yeah, what do you think on Patrick's dad? Which one do you think he is?
Authoritarian.
Authoritarian, absolutely. Why is that?
Because it mentioned that he would cuss at them and then also like punish them for certain things that he could have handled better, I guess is what I mean.
Absolutely. He punished him when he was having an accident, and he was trying to learn to be toilet trained, and he got spanked for that, and he was grabbed and cursed at for at the store, if you remember that in that vignette there. So, how do you think that style has affected David? Or not David, Patrick, wrong kid, Patrick. Yeah, Madison, what do you think?
He started hitting at school and like treating other kids how his dad would treat him.
Yeah, he's absolutely, that's what he's learned, that this is how things are done. Do you think David's dad, if you were to call him in as a teacher and say, hey, I want to have a parent-teacher conference with you, do you think he's going to fess up and say, yeah, I spank him, yeah, I beat him, I'm going to curse at him? Most aren't going to say, yeah, I do all that. You might have a few that say, I take the tough guy approach, but they're not going to flat out say that. And it's going to be difficult because remember, we're always modeling. Children are always watching whomever's around them, and that could include the adults in their lives as well as any screen that they might be watching as well, and what action is happening on the screens. So they're not going to fess up to that. So you've got to figure out something else to work with that child. Absolutely. So look at Leah's mom. Look at Leah's mom. Is she authoritative or authoritarian? Leah's mom. What do you think? Shout it out.
Authoritative.
Authoritative. Yes, authoritative. And explain why her way of dealing with Leah's biting Robert so clearly illustrates that authoritative. Why, Jillian? What do you think?
Mainly because first things first, she went and made sure that, what's his name? Robert was okay and that he was all right, and then immediately told her that no, we don't do that. if you need help with something, come to me. Don't do that. That's bad. He's hurt.
Absolutely. So she is responsive to them, and she's also showing that structure. So that was great, wonderful. So we're going to keep those in mind, that authoritative, authoritarian, the permissive approach as we move forward throughout the textbook. So has anybody read chapter 2 yet? And that's okay if you haven't. It's okay. Don't stress. Okay. So I'm going to be honest with you. Chapter 2 is probably going to be extremely boring. Hang tight, okay? And I say that because it gets into theorists. Theorists. A bunch of people that are no longer around, they have passed away, and nobody likes talking about that in the theories. But it's very applicable, and we're going to talk about that next week. So make sure that you have read chapter 2 before next week, because we're going to do some group work, and I'm going to probably pair you up, and you're going to be looking at a few of these theorists. And I want you to start thinking about some of these guys, because I want you to think about what was their theory, and if I were to walk in a preschool classroom today, what would I see that supports their theory today? Because every one of them you can see today when you walk into a preschool, infant, toddler, kindergarten, first grade classroom. So we're going to talk about examples next week as a pair. You're going to work together to come up with those. So as you're reading it, stop and think, what would I see if I went into a classroom that would demonstrate this? Okay, does anybody not have a classroom that they've been in? And if you haven't, that's okay. I'm going to give you an idea where to go and look. All right, so Madison, so if you've never been in a preschool, toddler, infant classroom, go to YouTube. Go to YouTube, okay? And look that up. Video of a preschool classroom or video of a toddler classroom, okay? And get some ideas then. And you will come up with that, okay? All right. So right now, I want you to take out a scratch sheet of paper, or if you type it, that's fine too. I don't care. We're just going to practice something, okay? Perfect. Doesn't matter. We're practicing this. All right. Remember, your big final is coming up with your belief statements, okay? What your philosophy of guidance is on guiding children's behavior. So looking at chapter 1, which is the approach that you believe teachers should have? What do you think? Of those, should they be authoritative or authoritarian or permissive? Gosh, I hope you guys can figure this one out. Please tell me yes.
Authoritative.
That's right. So you might write, I believe teachers should have an authoritative approach to caregiving. There's your first sentence, okay? I believe teachers should have an authoritative approach to caregiving with children. Add that in there if you'd like. Now, what does that mean? You now write a couple sentences. Tell me what that means. Go. Do it. All right, let me hear from you guys. Let's write our next sentence. What would we put after this? What did you put? I believe teachers should have an authoritative approach to caregiving with children. Who wants to share? We're going to write this together. All right, Jillian, what'd you put?
I believe teachers should have an authoritative approach to caregiving, which means you still have guidelines and rules while still having a caring attitude, which would show you care for their emotional health as much as their physical health.
All right, so teachers who have an and I totally misspelled this and it never picked it up. Authoritative approach. Show, what did you say? I didn't quite catch all that.
Sorry, what this means you still have guidelines and rules while still having a caring attitude, which would show you care as much for their emotional health as their physical health.
All right, so teachers who have an authoritative approach still have guidelines. Is that right? I'm going to kind of go with this through it within the classroom while showing, what was it?
While showing a caring attitude.
What else?
Which shows they care for students' emotional health as much as their physical health.
This shows that you care for their emotional health as well as their what?
Physical health.
Physical health. Okay, that works. Okay, you can clean it up a little later, but get your idea down. Anybody else have anything they want to share with that?
I put the children will know the teacher's expectations.
Okay, you can even add that to this. So, children in this classroom would know what now? Say that again.
The teacher's expectations.
The teacher's expectations. Okay, that works. Now, find a quote in this first chapter that supports this. And we may have to go back and put the quote between those two sentences. That's okay. Where's a quote that would support it? Tell us the page.
Like a quote or like an example?
A quote right now. I want a quote from the book that supports what you just said. The children in this classroom with no teacher's expectations. Or, Jillian, what you said. Teachers have an authoritative approach, still have guidelines within the classroom while showing a caring attitude that shows that you care for their emotional health as well as their physical health. Where does Marion, who is the author of our book, say that? Where did you pull that from? You guys got it. We just have to find something in here now to support it. It's in here. Trust me, it's here somewhere. Guidelines in the classroom. Look on page 12. Boundaries, limits, expectations. Ooh, there's a teacher expectation one. Adriana, you talked about that. Ooh, I found a quote on page 12. Okay, Jillian, what you got? What page?
Page 12, one of the last sentences of the first paragraph. The key is to combine high demandingness with warmth and understanding of children's development.
Okay, where should we put that quote? Where does that fit best? In what we've got. I found another quote in that paragraph too that works too. The one I picked up on was, let me find it now. Demanding and responsive adults understand the importance of proper boundaries and appropriate limits in guiding young children. That talks about that as well. All right, so Jillian, where are we going to put your quote? And it's okay to have more than one quote, guys, as long as it supports the statement. So where should we put that?
Probably between health and children.
Between health and children. Right here, about this way?
Mhm.
Okay, so I would put, oops, let me not get rid of that word. So I would probably put Marion, I want to make sure I'm spelling her. Yep, Marion. Sorry. Marion states. And the key is to combine high demandingness with warmth, understanding of child development, and giving, where did my pen go? Giving explanations. All right, and you could put that, oops, and I went up there. Jumped on me. Period. End of that quote. Okay, then you're going to probably want to have maybe a little, you could give another little explanation after that. You want to have smooth transitions between your quotes and your other statements. So you might want to include that. But we can go back and clean that up in just a little bit. The other quote that we have can go right there as well after this statement. Okay, because now we've made another statement about children in this classroom would know the teacher's expectations. So then we can put demanding, responsive adults understand the importance of proper boundaries and appropriate limits in guiding young children. You can also put in here, let's see. Let's see if there's another one, monitoring. I think that's the better one. Let's go with that one for this statement. So here I would put, Marian also states, quote, demanding and responsive adults understand the importance of proper boundaries and appropriate limits in guiding young children. All right. Now, one thing I haven't done here is put the page numbers. So since this is a rough draft, I'm probably going to go back up here and do this just so I know where the page number is. And then I can fix it later and make it actually correct format. But this is just my rough draft, okay? Now, if you look at the assignment, we have to give an example of this. How would this look in a classroom? What would I do in my current classroom, or how do I plan to do this in my future classroom? So what would you say now? Yeah, Amber, what do you think?
You could have like a rule chart and then read it off every time you are at like circle time and other things. So they have, like, they know what your expectations are.
Okay, so I can put that. In my classroom, I will have the rules posted at a child's level. I will review these rules daily, demonstrating what they are and what they are not. I'd probably do giving specific examples for each. Now, let me ask you this. We talk in here, teachers who have authoritative approach still have guidelines within the classroom while showing a caring attitude. This shows that you care for their emotional health as well as their physical health. Marion states the key is to combine high demandingness with warmth, understanding of child development, and giving explanations. Children in this classroom would know the teacher's expectations. Marion also states demandingness and responsive adults understand the importance of proper boundaries and appropriate limits in guiding young children. In my classroom, I will have the rules posted at a child's level. I will review these rules daily, demonstrating what they are and what they are not, giving specific examples of each. So if you look at the actual rubric, have we stated the first sentence, my belief statement, in bold capital letters? Sure have. Have I given statements and I've followed up with quotes? Have I given a specific example of what's going to look like in my classroom or what it currently looks like? Yes. And then I'm going to go back and make sure that I do this in APA format. So this is an example. Yes, Madison.
Sorry, what exactly is APA format?
So you've got MLA or APA format. So I just want you to go ahead and use APA format if you can. If you use MLA, that's fine, but I would prefer APA. It is how you document and give credit and cite when you quote something. So there are two different ways you can do that, MLA or APA format. Those are the two ways when you cite something that you are quoting or you're taking an idea from someone else. And because we quoted these, we're going to put those in quotation marks, and then there's a particular way that you say this is where it came from. Okay? All right. Does this start to formulate for you guys what's expected for your final exam? Okay, so this was just from chapter 1. So here's what I would do if I were you. Remember, start making those tabs throughout the book. To help you along, we're going to do this every now and then. That'll help so much. All right, so what you might want to do is when every so often stop, go back to the tabs you've written and maybe write a paragraph on one of the chapters, just like this. Okay? Real simple. All right? And then at the end, you take and look at your paragraphs and go, well, that one's really strong. I really believe that one. That one's strong. I'm going to pick these. Boom. Your final exam will be done. Okay? So that's one way to do that. All right? It'll make it easier in the end. It's all about time management. Making it easier. Okay, guys? This is also something that you at the end will be able to walk into a job interview with and say, here's what I believe in guiding children's behavior. And they're going to go, wow, impressive. Okay? You're laying out how you're going to set up your classroom. All right? So, read about the theorists this week. All right, guys? Try not to fall asleep while you're doing it, okay? They really are. You're going to see them in the classrooms. I promise you, every one of those theorists, you will find an example in our current classroom. Madison, look on YouTube for videos of classrooms, okay? Any questions for me before we go? If you do, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Otherwise, you guys have a great week, and I will see you next Wednesday, okay? Bye, guys. Peyton, you got a question?
Yeah.
Sure.
Am I supposed to be in a classroom formatting?
Are you supposed to be in a classroom for formatting? Explain to me what you mean.
No, like a classroom area, like for this class. Like observing?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. A lot of students that take this program are already in classrooms and such. Do you have access to a classroom or anything?
No, I work in a restaurant.
Oh, then you're fine. And you can go and look on YouTube as well.
Okay.
So go to YouTube and search preschool classrooms. Videos of preschool classrooms and just short little things. And it'll
Okay.
be fine. Okay?
Okay.
All right, any other questions?
No.
All right, have a great week.
You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.